Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Talkin' Town, your favorite local SWU podcast for some of the Omaha folks. I'm joined by my constant co-host Steven today. Steven, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Really looking forward to next set come out here. I know we're kind of in the swing of things now that the whole set's been spoiled, which I know we'll get into later. But yeah,
Oh,
just excited in that kind of final stretch for Worlds.
I think you and I were talking about it. The set five, like the trickle, was kind of like I was just excited to get it all ready. So this was like a blessing. Obviously, we got there was kind of unfortunate, but I'm glad Fantasy Flight was kind enough to kind of drop the bombshell and let everybody go to town on thinking about it and theorying up every cool leader combination, base combination, card combination. um I know you and I have
Yeah, that's one
started.
of the things that I want to give credit to FFG. It feels like when they have to be reactionary, they're pretty good about being reactionary.
Yeah, it's it's there's a lot of working mechanisms, I'm sure, when they give these players spoilers to announce through content, and permissions of certain things kind of probably just get caught in the way, and eventually somehow apparently a living document with all this was floating around for some amount of time. So it's glad to see that like we said, that they jumped the gun, or not jumped the gun, they jumped ahead of it and was like, here you go, everybody gets to play this field or have an even playing field now. So
Yeah.
man, unlike last couple episodes ago, I do not feel like reading through every single card. Uh, that was supposed to be a shorter episode for anybody who, but I just started and I just didn't want to shut up. So we're not going to continue to go through everything, but we did have a lot of stuff spoiled in the meantime. I mean everything, but a lot of big stuff. Um, what was some of the stuff that you've were just excited about once it was finally showed off?
I mean, a couple of things that I mean, obviously there was all this buildup around this Anakin heroism leader that was
Mm-hmm.
rumored. So it was nice to finally see that come out. Uh, I think he's good, but I don't think he's actually going to be played
Yeah, I
as
agree with that.
extensively as people think. And it like because I think the awkward thing about him is in theory he's a good card.
Oh
Like
yeah.
like like in theory, he's a good card, but when you actually have to adapt that to practical play and incorporating like both heroism cards in order for you to gain the force to then be able to play villainy cards using the force, it's just this kind of weird element.
Yeah.
Now I could be completely wrong. Maybe you just find the perfect tempo balance. But like, you have these villainy cards that people are like, oh, you can play Power of the Dark Side and Anakin. And it's like, okay, well, if you're playing Power of the Dark Side and Anakin, you have to play a force unit turn one and attack with it. And then your opponent could have easily played a second unit already
Yeah, and if you
and
don't
gotten
have
their attack
initiative
in.
in that situation, they're going to target that unit. It's like
Yeah.
there's going to be this give and take of how these turn one plays, and the decks that
Mhm.
are going to be able to deal with them responsively are going to be the decks that are going to just shut down any force based stuff.
Right.
Um, I mean, we can dive into that kind of discussion too. But yeah, I mean, you said Power of the Dark Side. I mean, everybody's brain probably goes, all right, well, I've got Overwhelming Barrage. There's the new the Tale of Plagueis. I can't remember what it's called. The 5 cost blue event.
Tragedy of Dark Play or oh, Tragedy of
Tragedy of
Plagueis
Plagueis,
Celestar.
yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Then we have No Glory Only Results. All three of those cards are 5 cost villainy cards that are actually really good. But how do you determine which one to play? And what's his base, his other aspect? Everyone thinking maybe red for force throw, and I'm like, that's a great idea, but it's
What else do you gain?
yeah. And
Yeah.
I when
And I was just saying, like, sure, don't get me wrong. I think it's very, very good to be able to play Barrage, and I
Oh
like,
yeah.
but the whole idea is, oh, but I get to play Barrage in the deck, and it's like, okay, so you're losing an entire aspect just so you can play Barrage, which then maintains you still have to have previously gained the Force and not used it. You
Hmm.
have to then have a unit on board that is a good target for you to Barrage, and it's like I feel like the drawbacks might be a little too much, and it feels
Yeah.
like the deck is in this really weird place where it's like I don't think you can play it control because you're not going to be able to effectively get the force for these villainy cards that you'd want to play to make it control.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, unless you're just playing a more top end heroism deck, which I mean, it's certainly
I
possible.
I think Anakin is very well statted for a 5-drop, so there's
Oh,
like
sure.
that to give as well. But yeah, it's like, let's say we jumped into red. Well, mono red has never been a highly competitive archetype by itself. So it's like even the part that you gain in mono red, which is aggression, you know, you won't have it in this case. And he's basically automatically locked into a 28 HP base, which, so far I don't have incredibly high hopes for. Like, if I were to say on a scale of 10, I think these bases will max out at about a 6 on my expectations. All of the special bases probably kind of fall far even under that to me. But we can take a deep dive further into there. I know there's once we jump into our testing section, but
yeah, we can run through some other ones.
I honestly, I've been on a super high horse about how good Yoda is. I think that might be the second best legendary in the set, and behind Vader. Yeah,
I still think Anakin's a better legendary. I think it's like Vader, Anakin.
Ooh,
I think
that's
Vader,
fair. That's
Anakin
fair.
are close because Anakin is just one of those cards that it feels like it's just always good, and it can be even better than good.
Fair.
So
I think if there was more use cases for maximizing the full ability of Anakin, then I would agree with you. I just think in the established archetypes that are like I guess I shouldn't say established because we don't have anything that is fully force-based green yet. But one of the decks I've been testing, I'll explain in a little while, has been Avar Blue. Has been absolutely fun. I don't know how highly competitive it is, but an 8-10 with Overwhelm that's a fun experience. It's harder than anything else in the game. So,
I know I mean, it was spoiled before the full set release, but I don't even know if we touched on it last episode, but like I really like Snoke.
I think Snoke's
I don't
good.
think he's a green. It's funny because you see he's a green leader, and you're like, well, he's not going to be as good as maybe one might think, but I mean, I think he's going to be good. I mean, he's going to be great in sealed or draft, in my opinion. I mean, he might be the best leader in sealed or draft, in my opinion.
You know what? He reminds me very much of Gideon. Like Gideon in set 1 draft was just like, oh, okay, well, what do I do to that? It's gonna just or Gideon in Twin Suns is like this thing turns into a 10-10 faster than you can blink. So yeah. One of our locals has been playing a lot of him. I think once we enter in a year from now, or less than a year from now, the next step of rotation, he may be one of the better villainy control leaders, just because a 4/7 on 6 is very well statted. That's our standard line actually, but like his ability, his ability to be a 5/8 that turn, because his on attack is for anything, and we already know through how Rey functions and how the new Obi-Wan functions that giving an experience is always worth one, and you can't argue the results there for that. We had Snoke, obviously we had Talzin already, Obi-Wan is one I had spoken about. We had Anakin revealed.
Leader.
That's right, the new big bad Kylo. I think he's super cool. I also think he might be not very. I would say his best aspects are blue yellow, just because you can snapshot that means. But
Yeah.
you know, time will tell. Maybe it's red. He's got so much. I mean, all the new lightsabers now that we got. His personal lightsaber, you got Fallen lightsaber, Vader's lightsaber in red, General's in green, constructed in several all types. There's more that I'm just missing, but
I think he's definitely cool. Gimmicky. I don't know that it'll ever be a top tier leader.
yeah.
But he's definitely going to be one of those leaders where you'll run into and just randomly get. I don't want to say cheesed, but you know,
No, you'll get
he'll get you.
He'll swing on your base for 15. So,
the other big leader that I know a lot of popularity has kind of come in recently is the Barris leader. I think there's a lot of interesting things you can do with that leader.
I think that has been. I mean, we have another one of our locals has been playing Barris Green using the new Mystic, the 25 HP, the 25, the 25 HP base that allows you to give up to 3, and you can do a lot of cool little tricks. I don't want to spoil too much of his stuff with that, but villain green yellow has always been just a huge meta staple for at least since the the Boba days, and even at the beginning of Jango, it's like, is Jango green? Like overwhelming barrage plus Jango, and those were options too. Let's see. Trying to think.
When you touched on the Yoda unit.
Yeah, Yoda, the new Yoda legendary. We've got oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember. I can't pull it up at the moment. Oppo? I don't know how to say it. He's the double green legendary. The one that gains a trait based on what's in play.
I can tell you in a second. I've got it open up right now.
But the other one I'll mention while you're doing that is Zuckuss. I think a 4/7 double yellow is an incredible stat line. Obviously, he's kind of held back by that double cunning aspect, but he's a force unit. So if you don't mind, down in the comments below, please let us know how Zuckuss is a force sensitive unit. Maybe this is something in EU that I don't know anything about, but I'd love to hear where that information comes from. Someone, one of our locals, Daniel, had mentioned that if you use set 1 Thrawn, you can obviously look at the top card of their deck, and Zuckuss will be able to swing for 8 that turn, which is kind of cool. Other than that, though, I've had a hard time to see his utility. But maybe it's something we just have to wait for the card pool to change to fully maximize, or it'll just be just a well-statted unit for the rest of its life.
And you were talking about Oppo Rancisis.
Yes, the Snake Jedi Master, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So he'll get. Yeah, he gets pretty much any keyword if you have another friendly unit that has it.
Okay. I was thinking he's like a Morgan Elsbeth, linchpin. He'll help grant keywords to more things. Or he'll gain, if Eye of Scion is in play, that snake is everything. So, yeah. I think that double blue didn't gain a legendary, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm tracking. I mean, Shatterpoint, I don't know if we touched on, but Shatterpoint's a crazy card.
Dude, Shatterpoint with Avar, but Shatterpoint in general has been absolutely insane. Give me half of Vigilance for 4, and give me Rival's Fall for 4. Just a.
It's not Rival's fall. It's non-leader.
Oh, sorry. Give me a Vanquish for
Vanquish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Vanquish for 4.
On one card. Yeah, you can. I'll be using that as long as a force base works with it. Man.
Got Leia Organa coming from space.
You know what? I'll take all the heat for this because I think I said it as soon as we were talking in our little spoiler chat. I thought it could be kind of good, and I was like, and then everyone was like, this thing is terrible, and I was like, you know what? You're right. It's so funny that it's also bad, but it's also just like we got all the Purgles floating around in space, and you can put a lightsaber on those guys. So I just want to put a lightsaber on a Leia that can't be readied somehow, but
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. See, like, what's so crazy is you can't even give her ambush.
Yeah.
Like, you can't ambush her because she can't ready. An ambush involves readying the unit to attack still.
I think Daniel was like, whatever La La Land that you believe you're in, Adam, that allows you to use this correctly, I want to be there. And I was like, you know what, Daniel? I'll figure out how to get there for you. But this thing it's just a silly card. I'm really hoping I don't pull any of my boxes. I just want Vader's and probably Yoda's, and then after that it'll just be a slow.
Give me all your Anakins.
No, we'll see about that one. Man, yeah, we got 20 legendaries in this set, which continues on the trend from last set, which is nice. My binder, it's so weird when you look at sets 1 through 3 and you see that they all had 18 legendaries, and then the count starts to adjust. Same with all the promos and how they've kind of gone through and changed how and which ones are foils, and are they all like hyperspace? Are they all the OP backgrounds? And right. I hope they get established on some kind of schedule soon. But it's
with that, I can't wait till they start spoiling prestige art.
This Carbonite set is going to be incredible. I cannot afford Carbonite this time around. But to those who get to, yes, those cards are going to look great. Just all the legendaries, and even some like, you know which one that I hope they print a prestige for is Kiadi Mundi. I don't know if we talked about that guy, but that Kiadi Mundi unit is going to be super played. For those who haven't seen it, he's a 4-cost aggression heroism. He's not heroism. He's
heroism.
Oh, he is.
Okay. If he was not heroism, I would be practicing other stuff right now.
What would you be practicing?
If I could play him in my the Vader 1 green that I wanted to set up, I'd be playing him in that.
Yeah, that's
because
a good.
You can play it so low to the ground and then just draw extra cards, because it feels like one of the issues with the deck when I was playing around with it was just you just run out of cards too easily.
I think Bosk would enjoy it too somehow.
Yeah, thank God it's heroism.
Yeah, it is a aggression heroism. 4 cost 4 statted unit. Holy cow. When played, you may use the Force. If you do, draw 2 cards. I'm assuming it reads exactly like that. I am not looking at the card.
You're good.
It is a very good card in a game with so little card draw. This ability, like if this unit was even like a 4/3, I'd still see that this probably gets played. It'd probably be less, but I think it would still get played.
Yeah, it's a solid body on the ground that you're like there. It's just one of those things of like, this is what the Force or what people hope the Force is, right? It's that little extra. You don't want cards where you get something, but it's so much to the detriment of like the basic use of the card.
Yeah.
And the way that this card is set up, it's, hey, the basic use of the card on its own is good enough. It's got the traits you want. Stat line's fine. Oh, I get to draw 2 cards? Yeah.
Oh, sure. Like, okay. And
there's a signing bonus?
yeah,
cool.
No, that is the best turn to probably draw cards too. Like, obviously later in the game, the more likely you are to hit the big bombs, but like the 5 resource units are the ones that are like making and breaking the game right now to me. Or the 5 resource turn. You know, it's like, does the Kira have the barrage? Does the Vader have the barrage? Does the, like, there's so many of these.
Heroism have Poe.
Yeah, it's like, is it barrage or Poe? Is it barrage or Poe? Is it no glory? You know, there's
Plo
one of
Koon.
these in Plo Koon in yellow. They're the, like, how will the match break is usually decided there in the turn after.
Yep. And it just makes your resourcing and such so much better, because usually when you start out the game, you're like, okay, well, I probably want a 2-drop and a 3-drop in my opening hand.
Yeah.
Ideally, you draw into the 4, and like you just get to draw 2 more cards, and now your turns are now set up pretty much. You're good, right? You're good after that. So
yeah,
it's just,
if you feel like they always had it, they're gonna have it even harder. That's just always how it's gonna be now, assuming they're looking to play Kiati. Another one, this will probably be the last cards I think that would be important to mention immediately, would be the Asajj and Quinlan Voss combo. Quinlan is actually, to me, obviously the better of the two. I think everyone would probably agree with that. His ability, I think he'll be the new placeholder for Kanan in Anakin. Just because it allows him to obviously trade up, and he'll knock out a 6 health unit on the 5 resource turn, but it'll also start to deal damage to, you can do it to your own base to activate your Anakin harder if you feel like it, or you're probably more likely going to do it to their base because that's just a good ability. He's just a 4/5 body for 4 with a on attack. When this unit deals or attacks with 6 or more damage, deal 2 damage to a base, I believe is how it. An enemy. Okay, never mind. Take back everything I said about the first part of that. But he is great. Asajj is just kind of the lackluster part, but they're definitely made for each other. What is Asajj's read?
When played and on attack, give another friendly force unit +2/+0 for the phase.
So it's just perfect on curve.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the nice things too, is she has the when played plus on attack as opposed to just on attack. They made it coincide with the way Quinlan plays, and I mean she's a 5/6 unit for 5, so
you could still ECL her and give something +4.
Whew.
So
that sounds awful.
yeah, that.
I mean, well, it sounds good, but it sounds awful.
I mean, you said she's a 5-cost 5/6.
Yep.
So actually, Sabine might like that.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, you're gonna have to. Do you need more 5-drops than Poe?
Nah, but
I mean, filter it in. Maybe, I don't know.
I
maybe you want like another 5-drop or 2, and then you can filter. You can just put Asajj in.
Yeah. But the idea of ECLing 1 unit and giving something else +4 is pretty enticing. So
yeah. The one other card that I wanted to touch on, also because I do really like the art, is the new Rey unit. 5/5 for 5. When you draw this card during the action phase, if you control a red leader or base, you may reveal it from your hand and deal 2 damage to a unit and 2 damage to a base.
There is a part of that card, because I've heard that card floating around, and not just yours, but a few other of our locals and friends of mine, just floating around in their brain space. And I know the game has some ways to cycle, so I'm excited to see if someone can break it. I don't think with our current card pool it's as strong as we'd hope, but nonetheless, having a free Ruthless Raider when you draw this thing, it has to be during the action phase, but yeah, it's a very cool card. I don't like it statting very much, but also that's not what it's there for. So if
it's a 5/5. It's a 5 cost 5/5. Like it's normal. It's like it's a normal stat line from what we're used to for the first 3 sets.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool, but oh man, I do really like the art on it.
It does look cool. It does look cool.
I want to see that in hyperspace.
I think it'll come out in Prestige.
That's the other thing. Yeah, it could be in Prestige. I wouldn't be shocked if it's Prestige.
I guess we should also mention Ray Leader came out, but I don't think anybody.
I don't care.
Yeah.
As the resident Ray player,
I know, right? even if I don't know, she just seems so lackluster. Kylo's at least cool, like unique. So,
yeah, exactly.
All right. Yeah, we'll jump into what we tested here in a little bit, but we are officially about 6 weeks out from the Galactic Championships. I know that tickets have already sold out, so I'm, really hoping all of our locals and everybody I know that's going has gotten their tickets. I'm so excited.
We're gonna have like 2,000 people.
Yes,
we're gonna have like over 2,000 people there. I don't know exactly how many tickets precisely they had. I mean, I know a regional is good for up to 2,000 players. I'd imagine Worlds they'd be slightly more at the very least. Well, but maybe not, because they intend for fewer people to be able to go moving forward.
Let's just imagine that they have 1,000 players day one. I think that isn't too far out of the realm of possibility.
I think it'll be 15.
You think
1,500 at minimum? Okay. Because you're only going to have. I mean, you're not going to have more than 500 or so people with day one pies.
That's where I'm going with this, basically. Okay. So let's say you have. We'll use your 1,400. How many people do you think, if you can pull it up in some way, or if you have a tournament bracket generator, how many do you think that means gets to go day 2 with X2 record? Because it's 8 rounds of Swiss is what I think they had originally.
So they guaranteed. They're guaranteeing 8 rounds with 1,400 players.
I think so. That's a lot. Yeah, but that's the thing. If it goes above 9, then I don't know. It could be. It could be even more. I don't know the math for. How many do you think will go into the next day is kind of like where I'm going with this. It's
so they said in order to make it to day 2, you need 18 match points, right?
Yeah. So you need to win at least 6 games, depending on
at least 6 matches. So at that point, I'm just trying to compare to the regionals. Say we would have about double the players. And so at going into round 7, there were still about 200 players in contention.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have like 400 players still moving to day 2. So I wouldn't be shocked if you'd have like 1,000 players for day 2.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm gonna bet it'd be around 800, but even then, that would basically be our largest tournament ever run and our second largest tournament almost ever run, back to back. That's a lot, and that second day is going to be stacked. So just gonna
have a lot of good players there. Yeah,
which is really cool. I actually think the format is really neat. It's just, if you're going from day 1 all the way to day 3, that's a lot of card gaming. So I'm getting it in my head that, like, my goal right now at least is to get to day 2. After that, I'm just I'm along for the ride. I think the things that I've enjoyed playing, like I've played a lot of Vader 4 now. I think it's actually going to have a decent chance going into this next meta, and just because it's such a space dominant deck that, like, if you don't find a way to interact with it, it will just blow you out through lane dodging.
And that's what a lot of these decks where you want to gain the force struggle, because you don't have any force space units.
No. And
none exist.
Yeah, and finding ways to interact with them is like, it's like I still have a lot of cards that will deal with their their turn 1 and turn 2 plays. between Geonosis and all that. But yeah, that's kind of my goal with all this. But I know they just also announced a gigantic side event schedule, which I think is something we should look through at some point soon, just to kind of give ourselves a best fighting chance. I mean, you'll be on to day 3 or something, but
don't put that pressure on me. You know what? I'll guarantee I'll make it to day 2.
Oh.
That's my guarantee.
You know what? That means you have to make it there. So careful.
Oh shoot, you're right. You're right. Someone already gave me grief for booking a non-refundable flight. So
That's fair.
Yeah, all the indicators are not aiming in my favor.
Front row raggy. Yeah. I think we're starting to enter, if we haven't already, the countdown, and I'm both so very excited, but also ready to just like to test, to grind, and that'll be a good kind of like segue into what we're going into next. Would you like to start us off with what we've tested so far, or what you've tested?
So what I've tested, I don't know if I touched on this earlier. The first thing that I tested, because I was thinking to myself, if I could get a deck that no one is planned for or expecting, that'd be ideal, right? Try and find the one niche that no one's prepared for, and you just get to win games because they're not. They don't know what to do. So I started playing some Vader set 1 variations. I started with a Vader green with the base where you just gain the force, and I tried to get it to kind of like an aggro deck, but
a man after my own heart, playing Vader,
exactly.
Your own Tarkin Town.
Yeah, because I wanted elements where I could just gain the force really fast, because I was like, man, Dooku, in my opinion, is a crazy card. What cards can I play to gain the force? I was also really liked Sorceress Blast as a card. So you could just gain the force before even attacking, and then maybe play a 1-drop, and then the Sorceress Blast to clear board. Their turn 1 play. Not going to be as effective against some of these 2/4s, but that was kind of where I was going with it. I'd say it was fairly mediocre. Like very good in certain scenarios, and obviously walloped in others. That was kind of where I started. I played around with Quinlan. I'm not a huge fan so far of what I've seen with it. I'm trying to remember the different colors that I've played with it. I think it's mostly been mono yellow. I haven't
say
really.
Qui-Gon or Quinlan?
Qui-Gon.
Okay, I thought you said Quinlan.
Did I say?
All right.
Oh, okay.
I think so.
Maybe
but
I did.
That's okay. Just clarifying.
No, you're good. So Qui-Gon, I tried, and I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't playing it right, or not approaching it correctly. But it seemed a little off in certain senses. Like, don't get me wrong, if I was able to constantly bounce my like Bodhi Rook or something, it felt quite good. But usually it'll die, and if you don't kind of have the same repeat when played card to repeatedly bounce, it didn't feel quite as good. I know bouncing Plo Koon's good, but it just felt like it was kind of difficult to maintain that kind of level.
It's like if you don't win off that first bounce, you've basically like you're entering the jousting with another mid-range deck that's like, all right, who can maintain board until one person has such insane board control that the game's just over. And Qui-Gon unit seems to be very good at helping you get there, but he also, like, you're still paying 7 for a unit that is supposed to die essentially.
And it honestly, against a lot of the stuff that you're going to be doing, it doesn't feel crazy good. I mean, sure, you're clearing the board to an extent, but either you're just giving them a card back that they get to replay, and they're like, cool, or they're just clearing it, and okay, I'm putting it on the bottom of my deck because it's like a worthless 2-cost unit.
No.
and now your 7 drop unit also died, and that's kind of the top end of the deck, right? Like he's
Yeah.
not going to be sticking around most of the time. So
He's good enough to
that's
pop
kind of my issue with
leaders,
it.
but he also pops leaders for 7 cost. So it's like,
True.
if you're doing that to kill their leader on that turn, it's not that bad for them most of the time. And if you're both at 7, your opponent might be playing things that are bigger than Qui-Gon. You know, it's like
Exactly. And with a lot of the leaders out now, it's either stuff that can likely get buffed, or it's a Kanan that's shielded, or
yeah.
things like that. So I'm not very convinced on it being consistent enough for it to be a very good deck.
I think that
If you can open now there are 2 of them every game, then good for you. But
yeah. The other part I'll throw in on with that one is that, like, we're in a set in a current meta where I think this new Vader will be like a huge staple, and it doesn't bode well for him for Qui-Gon, because it's like Vader's gonna 2-for-1 you, or you know what, he'll just kill whatever he comes out to see. It doesn't really matter to him. He may not even lose his shield, and it's like, all right, sure, you use your Qui-Gon to pop the shield with the ambush, and then use the ability to pop the Vader back to their hand. Well, you just didn't really gain anything out of that, you know? Vader will 2-for-1 every time if there's 2 units, and Qui-Gon will 2-for-1 under some circumstances. But I still think it's going to be a good card for the archetype. It's just that its uses are a little less. If it could do space units, it would be broken, absolutely broken. But it can't, which is a much healthier game. Vader is broken because he can do space units. That's why.
Vader can do everything.
Kill a leader. It's just
It can kill anything, because I'm also going to give you the thing that you need. And I think it's going to be so interesting too, because what happens when you have no ambush ability with the Vader, but you're just like, okay, I'm on 6, play Vader, give your thing that is the most threatening thing on the board a shield, and then your opponent has to think to themselves like, oh my gosh, I could go base, but then you just swing and kill it for free. So does that mean I have to trade shields on it?
Yeah, and if it's a space unit, it's like, all right, well, it's just cooked, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think what's gonna hopefully, I don't know. This is the thing that I think once we start getting into the real grit of the testing is A, how prevalent is ECL, or how prevalent is this Vader unit going to be? And B, will you use upgrade hate to save yourself the shield? Because if it's non-ECL decks, that Vader's ability suddenly goes way down. It's still just a 5/6 with a shield, but it's not insta-popping, you know.
Right. And if you see a lot of ECL, 25 health bases come back, how much better is aggro in the meta?
Yes. One of the things that I'm going to emphasize a little bit with is I'm going to jump into Gar ECL and see where I can take that. I think it's a deck that during like set 2 I had thought about a lot, just because, I mean, the Darksaber is a fun card to play, and even though he's not, slow to the ground as Sabine, he'll turn him into an 8/10, yeah, which is pretty slick. Actually, a 9/10 because he gets his own ability. I also think the deck can go super wide. You have ECL Vader, you have the Darksaber, you have buffed up shielded units. Upgrades just break math for most people. It's got a lot of cool little tricks, and that is going to be, it's on my list. I've also been playing Avar Chris, and currently I'm on with blue. I didn't think I'd be with blue when it first got all revealed, and all the cards we had were mostly yellow. But she's still, her biggest weakness will always be just the super late deploy. I think if she was an 8-drop, I'd be much happier with her. But the game states I'm getting to with her right now are pretty crazy. Yoda is just such a powerhouse of a unit, and like if you can have an established board with Yoda out, your opponent can't really play anything. It's pretty silly. Yeah, so Avar Blue, ECL Gar, and Vader Yellow are still my big three at the moment. Other than that, I haven't really hit it off with any of the new leaders just quite yet. Obi-Wan Kenobi Yellow has been fun, but I think that deck it trades very well if you can play on curve correctly every turn, and if you can get a General's Blade to stick. But like that's every probably Jedi deck that's running any kind of green right now.
I probably need to play a little bit more of the Obi-Wan and Kanan, because again, I think that ties in very much to the style of game that I like to play. I don't know if I would play Obi-Wan Yellow. I know the Padawan thing that gives you the Force is kind of one of the big elements of it, but I still think if I played Obi-Wan, I would probably play a green or a blue. And then Kanan, I think I'm torn on, do I play mono or do I play red for Kanan? But as of right now, I've kind of got a list going for Rey. Same old Rey Red that I've been enjoying and has so far felt pretty good.
Still on Tarkin Town though, right?
The current iteration is, yes.
Okay, that's so much of the identity.
Tarkin Town and trying to do the Forces with me, but it don't get me wrong, it felt good, but it just felt like one of those scenarios of why wouldn't I just be playing one of these other leaders?
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of felt almost like a worse variation of those in a way.
That's fair.
And there were a lot of scenarios where Tarkin Town does feel very valuable, especially where you can get it to a point where your opponent maybe doesn't get something to stick for a turn, and then they're behind on being able to utilize the Force because you got a free unit clear.
Yeah, and that's something we had discussed a little bit earlier. It's what I think a few of us are concerned with within the testing group is like, so when a unit has to attack to gain the Force, you're basically locking yourself into a game plan. Even if it's into another unit to continue trading, you have a 1-2 step dance that you have to deal with every single time. Whereas things like ECL, Tarkin Town, Security Comp, like the first set one bases are all a singular action game plan, because like your opponent will always have to trade into your units in most games unless they're playing Sabine, and even in which case Sabine still may have to be the control deck in some matchups. There's some units that just can't stick on the board, and these cards are so much better proactively and reactively than when a deck is required to do, its setup of having the Force, and then on top of that, the card to play it after. It's just takes more, which in the current format, that extra 3 HP that those Force bases have basically goes out the window in that exchange right there. Your average unit's probably going to hit your base for 2 to 3 starting turn 1 to turn 2. So you're basically exchanging 3 HP for a slower game plan. And whereas Tarkin Town is just kind of old reliable. And same with ECL. But that's just kind of the math in me that's like, this doesn't, it's I don't know if it's just quite there yet. But I hope so. I hope someone breaks it with a cool Force deck. I love the theme.
I'm curious how Quinlan will tie in with some of this stuff, since I think he utilizes Tarkin Town the most, just the best. And they'll have a much more effective way of actually clearing turn 1 so they can't utilize the Force base. But again, I still think aggro decks are going to be effective, and if that's the case, I think Quinlan generally struggles into your Sabines, your I think Vader Yellow. I could be wrong on Vader Yellow. I don't know, because I think Quinlan can match in space relatively well.
He doesn't have the ability to pop my 1-drops, so. Yeah. I would have said previously, like at the start of the beginning of how Yellow Vader was came about, where it's like, yes, you pop my Kijimi because you play a 2-cost. That was pretty unfortunate. As long as I can stop a Falcon from running me over, I'm usually okay with it. And the Clone Dagger Squadron, or the Clone Dagger, the dagger, the TIE Dagger, was a card that basically helped break the math back in my favor, because it's like your Tarkentown targets are really kind of so.
Right.
But yeah, I know we've obviously keep looking at lists as much as we can find and wherever we can get them to just like test out these new mechanics and these legendaries. I really I know we had talked about it a few times, but Force Throw, now that we have the entire card pool, I'm excited that I don't think Force Throw is going to require a ban, unless I'm extremely proven wrong at the beginning of all this. But even with the resurgence of Han 2 Blue, I'm like, I don't, it's a very strong card. I'll never not say that, but I don't think it's on the hit list as much as we had thought it was as leading up to the full set reveal.
Right now, I'm kind of in the same boat as well. I don't think Force Throw is utilized significantly enough for the current set for them to identify it as this is a very big problem card. Right now, it's one of those cards of, I hate playing against Force Throw, but if you take out Force Throw, it feels like a lot of these decks just really can't function then. And the other reason why Force Throw is so good is, or just some of this other stuff, is just diminishing your opponent's hand that prevents them from being able to plan at all or effectively play the game, right? That's the most, I guess, degenerate mechanic to worry about is when you run into the situation of, they just cleared my board and I've completely lost my hand, or I'm down to 1 card, so now I have to worry about more hand hate. And all these decks that are running the Force Throw already have other built-in discard. Quinlan, you have Spark of Rebellion. If you're running Force Throw, you have access to Pillage, and it's when you combine those two things together, it makes it very difficult for the opponent. But at least so far with some of the new stuff, that's not the focus, and there's a lot of good tools to help prevent the complete removal of one's hand.
Yeah,
because there is so much so much more pressure that can be established on board if your opponent is doing all this discard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll have a lot of ways of regenerating your hand. I mean, Kiadi, if you're playing as discard and red yellow or red hero is very popular, that Kiadi is just going to throw a wrench in your game plan just completely. It's obviously going to be rough for some of the blue villainy stuff, since I don't think they have nearly as much card draw elements. But
they got Pershing. They're fine.
Yeah, there you go.
I had Pershing, man. That card just always continues to provide the things I've seen people draw when they need it because of Pershing. It's like it's a little bit of a breaker for sure. That swings hand hate back to the middle. It's not like super skewed, but right. it is a kill on sight. You cannot let Pershing exist for very long as Quinlan.
Yep.
Yeah, and we got a lot more to continue testing. There's
I'm sure we'll have a ton of new decks that will come out from the ether as soon as the set releases as well. Because I still think if I had to take a guess, I'd guess at least half of the player base is still focused on set 4 premier events because of PQs. Maybe I'm wrong, but
yeah, you and I were
I still
just
think there's
checking.
good focus on it.
We've got about 3 weeks left of PQ seasons to wrap up, which means quite a few buys can still be handed out. Yeah, I mean, I am personally out of the race for the PQ season. I know you have another PQ coming this week, this weekend, so you've got a little bit more set 4 testing to kind of get through, but I'm sure you've kind of locked in on 1 or 2 decks, and just you don't need to win, but winning is nice.
Yeah, I'm really just kind of there to enjoy the game because I think the meta is really nice and healthy, so it's a good time to play the game. Going to just hopefully perform well again and just interact with a bunch of people because it's been a while since I've even been able to go to an event in Ankeny.
Yeah.
So it's been a while for me at least. It'll be nice to catch up with some other people that I haven't
you might see
seen, or
maybe some of the spacers will be out there. You can go say hi to them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I've seen don't get me wrong, I've seen a ton of these people go into like the regional and stuff, but when it's a more condensed event, you have more opportunity to actually
chat,
talk to these people and interact with them for sure. It's much more blanking on the word, much more personal, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Because it's just more intimate.
You're not caught in the crazy
circle.
hustle and bustle.
Yeah. Not having to worry about all these side events and such to go to.
I think that's also a good segue into our last topic for this episode. You said a very healthy meta, and we are basically, I'm announcing it here, but obviously next week we have the creator of this website, Swumetastats.com, Michael Abraham. He's going to hop on and chat with us, and we're going to kind of get a rundown of basically all of the filtering and software, and basically how this is a tool that you can use for yourself as a player. Let me pull this up real quick. All right, let me pull it up one more. All right, so I'll just do a brief summary. Basically, this website is a lot of compiled information, data that is basically pulled from all the major tournaments that have come up, a lot of PQs, everything within the set. One of my favorite things about this is that he breaks everything down into popular leaders and popular archetypes. So like you can check out all the Quinlan Voss decks. We'll just jump in with Sabine here. It'll pick it by leader and by base. So we'll just jump into Energy Conversion Lab, everyone's favorite. And then it'll break down, there's your costs for it and the usage percentage. So what's really cool about this is it shows, obviously like what's the percentage of decks using this card. And what's been really nice is that it's helping, like this is a huge one. This sideboard and popular section here is confiscate, or like where's the flan or the checks? Oh my gosh, where's the champs and doulas at in the flex area? What are the popular picks? Darksaber, Chewbacca, Wing Leader, Sundari, and it's like, and how much? Let's see, show details. Usage breakdown is where I love this thing. How many players are running 2 Darksabers in their Sabine list on average? I would have not guessed that it's 63%. So it comes down to 85% of all decks are using Darksabers, 1% or 3.8% are using 1 copy, and 19.1% are using 3s. So yeah, I'm super excited to actually get through, like, how does he want to showcase this website for everybody. And I want people to be using this to like look up the the matchup percentages, because I know one of the things he's working on is like a matchup matrix kind of like we've seen after events, and he's just constantly updating and working on it, and it's going to be such a cool and unique, useful tool for people to get their hands on. It is available out there right now, and I'll throw it in the comments section down below, or sorry, in the the description down below for everyone to check out. But I think he's got a
props to Michael.
No kidding.
And it looks very sleek too.
Yeah, it's super user friendly. I think he's got a Patreon here you can always go check out. But I think there was a contact me section somewhere. It'll be a thing we'll ask him if he has one up by next week, or if he has a way he would like for people to get a hold of him if they see stuff. But you can already see this, man. Sabine's got 902 decks registered, 627 Kira decks registered, and this information's only going to get more and more like cemented and documented and archived, which is really cool. Did you have anything on here you wanted to touch?
I mean, I don't think I have anything right now, but I know I think it's just going to be it's a very nice tool to get much deeper into the breakdown of decks, right? I mean, because I know we have the Swumetastats competitive hub that just tells us, okay, well, what's happening event to event, but it really doesn't consolidate that in a great view. I mean, you can look at individual deck lists and stuff outside of the event, but this is much more of a global element. I know he's again still doing a lot of updating. I think the matchup matrix, for example, will be huge, because I mean there isn't like a centralized place for a lot of the some of these more number breakdown things. A lot of it is just somebody pulls out a chart or a graphic, and then it just floats around. But after that, it's hard to locate again. So.
He's already kind of pulled snippets of, like, I think someone requested Vader Yellow, and then they said versus I don't remember which one, but it's like he was able to pull that metric, and then you think of it as a stagnant number, a static number now, but like you add a whole nother PQ season, and it's like, what does that metric look like into the new meta? Add it to the original, or it could be its own subset, categorical, like from set 4 into set 5. How does Vader Yellow's match up into this deck and to this deck change based upon the new cards that were added in between both of them? So
that'll be an interesting element, seeing how you can incorporate, either a date element of show me only results after this point, or certain sets, etc.
No, I could sit through stuff like this for hours if I really wanted to. But that is what we'll be working on next week with him. So I'll leave kind of some of that up for him to talk about, because I'm sure, also down in the comments below, please, guys, if you have anything you want him to, go over or touch on, you'll have, obviously the maker of the website to discuss it. So we'll kind of be your microphones to talk with him about. But I think that about wraps it up. That puts us at about almost an even hour. Oh dear, they're running around back here.
It was so funny seeing him run side to side. Like, I mean, that was.
Yep. There's a table right over there that a cat is standing on that Norman just thinks is his absolute best friend, but he wants absolutely nothing to do with him. So, I'll go deal with them here shortly. Probably just needs a little bit of attention, but you got anything else for us today before I wrap it up?
Nothing else from me. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you everybody. Like I said, leave us some comments down below about both Zuckuss and how he's a Force unit, and any questions you have for Mr. Michael over here. All right. Bye. Say bye, Norman.